Hello, aloha. Got my Hawaiian. I didn't do my hair today. Hello, everybody. Jason Michael Powers. It's 1 o'clock here, Thursday. Come on in. Got Brother Elijah Ray playing today from his Soundlight series called For Lovers. Soundlight Volume 4. This is Movement 3 called Lover, Beloved. You can find him on Spotify, on iTunes, Bandcamp, Facebook, Instagram, all of that. Definitely tune into Brother E's beautiful light sound transmissions. So come on in, grab a seat, a proverbial virtual seat. Stay as long as you can. This is episode number 5. Of what I have been calling Ascension Inspiration. And auspiciously, today is what is known as Ascension Day. What is Ascension Day, you ask? I heard you. It's known as the Feast of the Ascension of Jesus Christ today. Also called Ascension Day, Ascension Thursday, or sometimes called Holy Thursday. So, if you're here now, welcome to Holy Thursday, welcome to Ascension Thursday, welcome to Ascension Inspiration, and thank you for clicking now and saying yes to being here. And if you want to say hello, aloha, where you're from, at any point, if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer. But I just invite you to take a breath and breathe deeply, always. Deep, deep belly breaths are always helpful. I come to you in gratitude for all that's gone before and all that's coming after now. That is for us, for the evolution, for our ascension, for our resurrection to our Christed self. This really presencing. You know, it seems like every year, for me at least, it seems like every Easter it grows exponentially to be much more special. This Wesak was very, very significant as it fell into a full moon, the Buddha moon, and humanity is at the crux point, the cross point. There's talk of timelines and opportunities to up-level and come into the new earth paradigm. And my intention here, for those who are here now for the first time, you know, ascension is a big word, and maybe you don't understand what that word means, or maybe you have an understanding from the traditional Christian teachings. But I'm here as a guide, as an inspirer, as a brother along the path, who is on a path of purification, ascension, resurrecting, coming into alignment, reintegrating my true highest self, which I call my Christed self, my I am presence, my God self, and letting go of the lower self paradigm vision, you know, that perception that I am something less than divine, anything like that. That's where I come from, that's where I speak from. And so, if that's what you want to say yes to, then hang out here for a minute. But what is ascension? I said this in the beginning of the post, and I read it a few weeks ago, and it really is the impetus to why I'm doing what I'm doing. Bueller, Sir William Bueller, he said there is more than a new age. This is more than a new age. This is not just new age, blah, blah, blah. What we're at is a completion of the work of all ages. My main message is that we have no other more demanding task as souls and as a cosmic race than to facilitate ascension. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a book. It's backwards to you, but it's called the Dossier on Ascension by an ascended master named Serapis. I call him one of my sponsors, one of my guides, one of my teachers on the other side. I work with a few, and he is one of them. He is known as the Chohan of the fourth ray, which is a ray that is known as, also called harmony through conflict. Serapis Bey has had many incarnations, one of them being King Leonidas of the 300 of the Spartans, and many others. Amenhotep, I believe, the third or the fourth. But all that, don't get lost in that translation of what all that is. I'm going to read from this book and share from my heart what it means to my heart and what I believe it's meaning for us as a collective. Because we truly are in an auspicious time in human history on this planet. There is an awakening, there is a quickening, there is an acceleration of consciousness. And we might find ourselves stuck in an updraft or a downdraft, depending on where our vibration frequency is at. And the Ascension is all about frequency management. And how do we affect our frequency? By thoughts and feelings, simply put. What do we think about ourselves? What are we thinking about the world? What do we believe about ourselves? What do we believe about the world? Influences how we behave, how we speak, how we act. And how we speak and how we act and how we behave affects our frequency and our vibration. And there is an Ascension timeline available to all of us right here and right now to up level, to expand our life. And in that practical sense, this is not a new agey concept. This comes down to practical application and how you are moving in your sphere, into your life, into your practical life, in your health, in your wealth, in your creative expression. And all that is the practical life of being a human, embodying its divinity. And that's our invitation, always. So I'd like to begin with a prayer. This is a prayer from Elizabeth Clare Prophet and Mark Prophet. And it's a prayer for purity. And I just call this in while we begin this time. In the name of the beloved, mighty, victorious presence of God, I am in me, my very own beloved Holy Christ Self. I call to the heart of the Savior Jesus Christ and the servant sons of God who are with him in heaven. Beloved Serapis Bey and the Brotherhood of Luxor, beloved Archangel Gabriel, beloved Justinius and the Great Seraphim, beloved Linello, the entire spirit of the Great White Brotherhood and the World Mother. Beloved Serapis, in God's name I am, calling for purity's ray to expand, imploring that shadows no longer adhere, so longing for purity now to appear. My mind purify of its fleeting impression, my feelings release of all impure direction. Let memory retain the immaculate concept and treasure the pearl of the Holy Christ precept. O souvenir of radiant wonder, let my mind on thee now ponder. Christ's discrimination sunder all that's less than God's success. Cut me free from all deception, fix my mind on pure perception. Hear, O thou, my invocation, my Christ self to manifest. O flame of cosmic purity, from Luxor blaze through me, completely clear of all shadowed weights. Ascend me now to thee. And in full faith I consciously accept this manifest, 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 right here and now, with full power, eternally sustained, all powerfully active, ever expanding, and world enfolding until all are wholly ascended in the light and free. Beloved I am, beloved I am, beloved I am. You are the blue jewel. I am the blue jewel in Divine Mother's heart, and the lotus, also known as the blue rose. For some reason today, Superman wanted to be worn. I don't know. I love Superman, but I also love Shazam. So, turn this down a little bit. We're going to get into the reading and let Serapis Bey speak through this voice as mine, knowing we are one voice. And may you be inspired. Again, this is the intention here, why I'm going live, is to inspire, to activate, to elevate something within you that knows and resonates with the truth of what is going to be shared here. Chapter 4 is called The Banner of Humility. And there's a little quote at the beginning. It says, "Unto you who, following him, would be initiated from the beginning of the law of the one unto the ending of the mystery of life, welcome to the disciplines of our retreat." Thank you, Yvette. The music is Elijah Ray, Soundlight Volume 4, called The Lovers. And by the way, there's a video on my wall from last night. Heather and I did an evening of the joy, the 3 keys of joyful union, and did some reading and some music, and it's about 22 minutes and 11 seconds long. It cut off at some point, but it's up there. I encourage you to go back to it. The Serapis says, to embark on the path toward mastery, achievement, victory, and the ascension is an initiatic process. To right there, stop. To embark on the path toward mastery, achievement, victory, and the ascension is an initiatic process. You don't just get it overnight. This is a path. We have the awakening. A lot of us wake up and realize this matrix, this world that we thought was real is no longer the world we believe it to be. So we have this awakening, right? And we realize that God is no longer outside of us. God is within us. That we are not lowly little human slaves to a system. That we are sovereign beings. We are beings who are being called to sovereignty and mastery. You know, a long time ago, I heard a little whisper saying, "This is the lifetime you finish it. This is it. This is it." You know, and there's this call, maybe you relate to that. Maybe there's this call to mastery, to walk this earth as a living master. What does that mean for you? You know, have you had this calling? Well, if you have, it's an initiatic process. There are initiations, there are tests, there are trials, there are challenges, there are obstacles to reveal yourself to yourself. Whom God loveth, he chasteneth. The few in ages past have walked through the gates whose narrow markings may not be too comfortable to those overstuffed with the vanities of the world. It has been said, and well said, that no man can serve 2 masters. Again and again we perceive a wanton disregard for spiritual law by those who consider themselves to be initiates upon the path. Why do men, why do women choose to ignore the spiritual laws which gave birth to the universe and feel that they with impunity can completely escape from the law, whereas their neighbors must come under the hammer thereof? There is a dual mission involved in attainment. It has to be mindful of the great realms of deity, hierarchy, and the friends of God, as well as the octaves of delusion. I want to say that again. This is important. Hear this. There is a dual mission involved in attainment. It is to be mindful, aware of the great realms of deity, the hierarchy, and the friends of God, as well as the octaves of delusion. Paramahamsa Yogananda has a chant that we sing in our home often: deliver us from delusion, deliver us from delusion. The mind and the ego is a tricky thing in our spiritual journey. Do you know how many I've met that believe that they are the embodiment of Mother Mary, of Jesus Christ, of Archangel Michael, of various beings, that they are the special ones. They are the one. They're the one. Oh, no, they're the one. Oh, you're the one. Oh, you're the one. Deliver us from delusion. Help us to be mindful when our ego is calling us. Because the ego, we find out the ego when we wake up and realize the ego is causing a lot of our pain. We want to kill it. We want to destroy it. And it doesn't want to be destroyed. It will do everything it can for survival. And a lot of times it gets and weaves inside of our spiritual journey, and we get attracted to spiritual glamour. We start thinking of ourselves more highly than we ought. And what I mean by that is we believe we are more special than another individual, or our mission is unique and it's more special than any other mission, and all people need to come into my mission. The delusion, we're waking up, where our channels are opening up. But we have to be aware of God, the deity, the astral, the cosmic astral, and beyond. There are realms and realms beyond realms. And we're awakening to our multidimensional selves. If somebody goes, how are you? I'm here, there, and everywhere, just as you are. As God, we are one thing, one energy, one moving, navigating in many times and spaces and timelines. Coming into, bringing into, integrating all ourselves into one self. But as we're doing that, we sometimes get attached to identity, to archetypes, and we get lost in delusion. And so it's important for us in this mission to be mindful of the octaves of delusion, because they exist in this spiritual realm. Here, in these octaves of delusion, vain men compete in the marketplaces for earthly prizes, while the sands of time slip through their fingers, moment by moment, and eventuate in lost opportunities, many times never regained during their allotted span. Now we come to the stern business of accepting those who have desired and asked for a dossier on the Ascension that will give them the victorious patterns, stern though they may be, by which they may win their wings of light and attain to the stature of the immortals. Serapis Bey is known, my family, as the disciplinarian. When you come into this will, and this is not, I'm not here to tickle your ears and tell you something pretty and fancy. I'm here to express the heart of Serapis Bey, who's saying, you come to this path, you're going to require discipline of mind, of heart, of examining your field, your mental emotional field, what is not in alignment with absolute divine truth. You know, and that's different for each of us. We can navigate those fields, but it is important to be disciplined, to take captive of your thoughts and your feelings, because they can run amok and create destruction. We are all well aware of the fact that individuals whose chief motivation is but an idle curiosity, mingled with pseudo-intellectual and carnal sophistication, will, as dilettantes do, garble the most precious concepts and gingerly pick over those pearls of great price which come to them as opportunity and are cast aside as that which I already know. I already know that. I already know. How many times do we talk to an individual and we're sharing our heart and there's this sense, I know, and I do it, I know. You know, I heard it said a long time ago, sell your cleverness and purchase curiosity. You know, may we be more curious and less I know. We pick apart the gnosis. We have so much knowledge of various things. But it's time to really come in. If we want to get our wings of light and really soar through this existence and live as a living master, there are opportunities beckoning us here today. Many desire to assess the spiritual nature of others, yet they have no median lines or markings upon the fabric of self which indicate the attainment by which they might at least suppose they could make a reasonable assessment. Imagination is their measuring stick, and the conversations of others their guideline. These often feel that they must lean upon the arm of flesh and cannot tell the real from the unreal, because yet they lack the holy experience which they tell themselves they ought to seek. Serapis says here, I feel no need whatsoever to pamper the selfish, the greedy, and the carnal-minded. These have pampered themselves far beyond the fashion of ordinary men, and their dabblings in the realm of the spiritual will become an insult unto their own selves unless they achieve the greatest prize which a chela or seeker for God can have, which is humility. It has well been said, God resisteth the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble. This is something I know for myself and my beloved we keep in check. Humility. In this spiritual journey of awakening to a truth that is so powerful, is so potent, the trap is pride. One of the greatest traps we have on this spiritual journey, my family, is spiritual glamour. We really start believing that we are really, really special, more special. And there's not a grace in our interactions with others. We're looking for the ways that we can show our rightness and our power and our might. And all these activations and things that I have done make me really powerful. And Serapis Bay and the Great White Brotherhood are letting us know it doesn't matter what you know. Your measuring stick, my measuring stick, is my own life. In all four corners of my life. In relationship, in my creative expression, in my finances, and in my health. But he's saying there's no need. We're not going to pamper. I can come across a little stern at times. I know that this is why Serapis is one of my sponsors. Truth is truth, and I'm learning to speak truth with more love and more gentleness, more kindness. But I will be truthful with you if you talk to me. I'm going to tell you truth. I'm going to speak truth and love. And not pamper your feelings so much if you're out of a line, or if I'm out of line. Please, let's not do that. Let's hold this integrity place. There is a calling for each of us to rise up into our true Christed self and to not make excuses for why we are showing up less than who and what we are. He goes on to say, therefore, as we begin to reveal to the students those cardinal virtues, which are the very nature of God and are as compass points indicating the true path, we trust that souls in bondage to mortal convention will recognize that there is an octave of freedom and light, mystery, initiation, and manifest power which is above and beyond all the idle conceptions of men or the books that have been written on the masters of wisdom or the ascended masters. Truth, beloved ones, is indeed stranger than fiction. And when men are willing to cast aside the ties which they themselves have made that have not brought them, no, not an entire embodiment, the freedom for which they secretly long, they will understand that pride must go, or go before the fall. Recently it was asked, we were at a Sunday service just last week, and beloved Giant James Mellon, Reverend Dr. James Mellon, he was talking about that thing that you dream of. What is that one thing that you dream of? Do you remember your dream as a little one? Maybe that was an idle, a naive dream of a child. But as you've grown, what is your dream today? What is that deep desire of yours? I can tell you mine is freedom. We just celebrated Memorial Day. These brothers and sisters who've gone before us, these ancestors of ours, these generations of fallen warriors who have heard the call for whatever reason. Sometimes it was just to have an easier life. Sometimes it was to escape the life that they had to get into a more structured lifestyle. But some were there to really fight for freedom. At least here in America, and I'm sure in every country on the planet. People go to war, supposedly for freedom. And so I believe with all our hearts we want freedom. We want to feel free. We want to feel financially free. We want to feel free of the bondage of the negative thinking. We want to be free to love and be loved. We want to be free in our bodies and feel this graceful flow and not limited in any capacity. We absolutely, and that's our divine birthright as children of God, is freedom. But there are things that keep us from our freedom, from really embodying that. And that's really coming into our I am presence, really embodying our presence, our Christed self in increasing measure. That's what brings our freedom on this planet. Truly, it's not going to be more money. It's not going to be more power. It's not going to be more fame. We've seen it. What brings more freedom? He goes on to say here, if pride goes, then the altar is swept clean for the gifts of divine humility. If pride remains, it doth indeed go before the fall of that individual into numerous pitfalls. These pitfalls are subtle, involving the character of the self. In order to outpicture in the world of form the intended God design, the individual must take up the crude block of rough-hewn stone, cut out without hands, into which he has cast himself, and, using the hands of spiritual idealism and the model of the divine image, he must seek to bring forth that holy sculpturing of identity, which is identified within the Christ reality, that as the Word went forth from the universal heart. What is the value of reading our words and meditating upon them? The value and the benefit lie in the acceptance of the charge of light which we put into the words and behind them. For whatever reason you're here now, listening to me, there's a charge coming through my words, through these words, to your soul, to your heart, to humble yourself before the Lord. You know, I came from years of Christian paradigm. I had to leave the Jesus that I knew and come into gaining Christ, to accessing, to hearing Jesus, to hearing his presence in a new way, to undo all that old programming. And I've come to understand, and really every knee will bow, every tongue will confess before their ascension that Christ is Lord. And what does that mean? That Christ sits in your heart. That you have opened the chalice of your heart and you are stepping into your Christic state, but with humility. There before the grace of God go I. It is not I, the little I, that doeth the works. It is the Father, Mother, God principle in me, my Abba, Mama, my parents. As I stay in communion, as I stay in obedience to that. And when I'm speaking in the I, I'm speaking for the we. Right? But what is the value of reading our words if we're not integrating this? These words, then, as glowing coals of holy truth from the altars of God, from the altars of initiation, and from our temple at Luxor, are trines of light intended to stimulate in men and women the knowledge of the holy symbols that reveal a goal quality to man. I recall full well when the Master Jesus came to Luxor as a very young man, that he knelt in holy innocent before the Hierophant, refusing all honors that were offered him, and asking to be initiated into the first grade of spiritual law and spiritual mystery. No sense of pride marred his visage. No sense of preeminence or false expectation, albeit he could have well expected the highest honors. Jesus, he chose to take the low road of humility, knowing that it was reserved unto the joy of God to raise him up. Our brother. You know, he sits on a, you can't really see it, but I'll show you. I'm going to bring it. Hold tight. It sits on our wall. Right here. His presence is very present. And I just think his presence has always been with me since I was a wee lad. I didn't understand how and why. It drew me to the Christian churches. It drew me out of the Christian churches. It drew me to the places I am today. And Jesus is our way shower. And as he came into meeting Serapis Bay in the Great White Brotherhood at Luxor, he knelt before. In humility he served. Not saying, hey, look how special I am. Look who I am. Do you know who I am? I've fallen into this trap. You wake up and you realize you're not your history. You're not your little self. You're something greater. And in the wounded heart, at places where our shadows lie, is where the ego and the spiritual glamour can take hold. And the dweller on the threshold, as it's been called, can take root. I'm here to inspire something inside of you, to share openly, to be that ascension guide, if you will, along this path here in this now moment. That with humility is our banner. To raise an individual is a glorious thing when the individual lies prone. Serapis says again, to raise an individual is a glorious thing when the individual lies prone in hope, in faith, and in charity, awaiting an act of God to reconsecrate the self to the simple quality of humility. For there is an act of false pride which manifests as false humility and causes individuals to appear humble, whereas in reality they reek with pride. This false humility is often manifest in subtle ways, and it is a mockery of the real. Shun then all that is not real and virtuous, the thoughts of thine own heart, and mend the thoughts of thy heart if they seem to be trifling with eternal purpose. You came forth for one cause and one cause alone, and that is to manifest God's light. This is it. Let me say that again. You came forth for one cause and one cause alone, and that is to manifest God's light. You heard the call. This is why this came into my life. The 1111 window, the 1111 code reminded me, called to myself, that I'm here to be a chalice of God's light. To embody, to integrate, to speak, to radiate the power and the presence and the peace of God, which transcends the human understanding. That's what we're here to do. We're here to truly be a chalice. I've said it before in these videos. I see us as Tesla coils. In this path of initiation, we're being called to embody this light. This is the reason we came here. This is the reason now. And no more than now in this timeline, in this chaotic node that we're on, are we being called to truly be the coils of light, to manifest God's light. While our mastery stands as a rainbow of promise to unascended men, this promise can never remain their guiding light unless they shed human pride. Quite frankly, many individuals on the spiritual path use their contact with us, with the Ascended Masters he's talking about. We use our card. Hey, I know the Ascended Masters. Do you know the Ascended Masters? I speak to the Ascended Masters. I channel the Ascended Masters. Many individuals on the spiritual path use their contact with us as a means of attaching importance to their own egos. They but harm our cause, for the awful majesty of the divine light is able to probe men and women even to the depths of their very bones, and the flame of divine penetration that tests men and women before their ascension reveals the very naked recesses which are often unknown to individuals themselves. I urge upon all, then, that they seek the banner of divine humility. Seek the banner of divine humility. If the masters and the divine presence of men through the mediatorship of the Christ have ever recognized any of the errors of men and women that have hindered them from becoming that which they long to become, they have recognized their pride. Pride takes many forms, and true humility but one. True humility must be worn eternally. It is not a garment you place upon you for a moment, for a day, or a year, or when passing a test. It is an undergarment with which God himself is clothed, and unless it surround thee, thy hopes of attainment are slim indeed. In my present series of discourses on the Ascension, I am determined to give in this dossier some of the disciplines which I measure according to your capacity to receive in your present need. Rest assured of this: all who will accept this teaching and bind it upon themselves as an act to do, an act of divine grace, will benefit immeasurably from it and from all that I'm about to release, as receptive hearts like open flowers become chalices of God's hope renewed in man. Forward into the light, I say unto ye all, I am Serapis. And so in humility, it is my promise to you to continue to be as transparent as possible. You know? It's been, speaking of Elijah Ray, this is the music you're listening to. I heard he did an Instagram. He talked about, these selfies and these pictures, and all we do with social media, we're always putting on our better sides. And Heather and I, we got married in Peru back in 2016. A dear sister would happen to be there, Elena Ra. Just love this sister. She happened to be there when we were in Peru. And we talked about that idea of just showing warts and all, showing the raw and the real. And in this raw and real journey, it's important for us to share our victories and share our challenges. The pits and hits. And speaking of pits and hits, I would love to invite you, if you're local here in the LA area, I have gathered a group of men, what I call the Sacred Circle of Men. 2 Fridays a month, we meet in park under the trees. And we're going through a book called Bringing Out Your Shadow Out of the Dark. And we're getting raw and we're getting real about our shadows and where we need to integrate and come into wholeness. We can't shun our shit. We can't act like we don't have a stink to us. We can't act like we're not messing up our relationships, our health, or whatever it is, We have to come clean. We have to come with humility with each other. And in that light, this journey of divine union is the most glorious path, and it's the most challenging path at times. And Heather and I are about to go bring it again. We used to go 11-11, raw and real, with one love and gratitude and the powers of love. And we're about to start this June, I think June 10th, if I'm not mistaken, June 10th or June 11th. We will start broadcasting again, and we invite you to come join us on the powers of love, and for intimate conversations about all sorts of things that involve union. That's our work. And if you're needing help in your life with anything regarding relationship, you're wanting that relationship, you're wanting to be in service with your beloved, and you're having a hard time bringing her in or bringing him in, we can help you. That's what our work is. So let's come with humility. My promise is to lead with humility in my own life. It came to me a couple weeks ago with Heather. I was saying humility, transparency, honesty, and integrity. Those 3. Humility, honesty, and integrity. Being integrous with our word and our life. Being honest and transparent with each other. And being humble. Serapis is clear today. We can claim to know truth. We can claim to know the masters. We can claim all this we want, and we can be in delusion. very easily. So be in discernment, be cautious, be aware of what's going on. The dweller on the threshold will get on your path and be your partner on your spiritual journey. In humility we serve, in humility we speak. I want to end this with another prayer. It's called "It is Finished" by Jesus the Christ. It is recorded in the Bible that the last words of Jesus in the Bible were, "It is finished." He then gave up the ghost. These words were not alone for Jesus, for we too can say, "It is finished." We can say we're finished with the round of making karma and the entanglements of the world. We can take our stand and affirm our identity with Christ today. It is finished means that the human consciousness, with all of its struggle, with all its crucifixions and all its trials, it is finished. We can declare that the struggle is over at this very moment. We can determine that the entire turmoil of the human consciousness is finished. We need only to declare it. By your spoken word, it is done. It is done. Is it finished today for you? It is finished. Done with this episode and strife. I am made one with immortal life. Calmly, I am resurrecting my spiritual energies from the great treasure house of immortal knowing. That days I knew with thee, O Father, before the world was, the days of triumph, when all the thoughts of my being soared over the ageless hills of cosmic memory. Come again as I meditate upon thee. Each day as I call forth thy memories from the scroll of immortal love, I am thrilled anew. Patterns wondrous to behold enthrall me with the wisdom of thy creative scheme. So fearfully and wonderfully am I made, that none can mar thy design, none can despoil the beauty of thy holiness, none can discourage the beating of my heart, in almost wild anticipation of the fullness made manifest within me. O great and glorious Father, Mother, how shall a tiny bird, created in hierarchical bliss, elude thy compassionate attention? I am the greater value than many birds, and therefore do I know that thy loving thoughts reach out to me each day, to console me in seeming aloneness, to raise my courage, elevate my concepts, exalt my character, flood my being with virtue and power, sustain thy cup of life flowing over within me and abide within me forever. In the nameless, in the nearness of thy heavenly presence, I cannot fail, because I am thyself in action everywhere. I ride with thee upon the mantle of the clouds. I walk with thee upon the waves and the crest of water's abundance. I move with thee in the undulations of thy currents. That is from Elizabeth Clare Prophet and Mark Prophet. It is finished. This is Ascension Day. You have an opportunity right here and right now to know this truth with me. That right where you are, the holy, mighty power of God is. Raising you, initiating you, purifying you. May we lay prone, may we lay in supple surrender to this truth, that apart from this one power, we are nothing. To disobey and to rebel against this one power is foolishness. Let's come into alignment. Let's come into consecration in service to this truth. Because what the world needs now is those of us that are embodying this truthfully, not to contend with anything outside of us, but to come into holy alignment with this truth, to be the beacons, the pinpoint pricks, acupuncture needles on planet Earth, holding the line. I speak this with all the joy and gratitude of my heart, because what I'm speaking is coming from the presence of one as me. It's 1:44 right now, here in my time. The 1:44 are present, serving. Thank you for what you do right where you are. You matter. Thank you. I know that I am no more than you are. We are one. What we do in service to that one matters. In humility, I serve. In humility, I offer this transmission, this ascension inspiration. May it go forth to heal, prosper, and bless you and all those who choose to listen now and in the future now. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Sabaoth. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Sabaoth. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Sabaoth. Air, Asher, Air. Translating, I. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God of hosts. Air, Asher, Air means I am that I am. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here now. Until next week, namaste.